Something moved in the night and the neighbors heard it, headlights cutting through the dark, a motor idling, a car that seemed to come and go near the Sullivan trailer. But after weeks of checking, police now say they can't confirm that a vehicle was ever there. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell so you get first-hand updates as investigators sort witness reports, sift surveillance footage and follow every verified lead in this still open investigation. What police announced this week is simple in wording but heavy in consequence. Investigators reviewed surveillance video from the Lansdowne station area and found no footage that shows a car driving back and forth at the times neighbors described. Put plainly, witnesses say they heard a vehicle. The RCMP say the cameras show nothing. That disconnect is the central tension in this stage of the inquiry. A tension between human perception in a quiet rural landscape and the fixed record of recorded images. It's also a reminder of how complex missing person inquiries become once the loud urgency of the immediate search gives way to methodical evidence gathering. When the RCMP speak of a thorough review of surveillance footage, they mean more than a quick skim. Investigators canvassed the area for private cameras, doorbell clips and any fixed-eye recordings that might have captured movement on Gairloch Road and nearby lanes during the early hours of May 2nd. They collected files from residents, requested archived footage from local businesses and analyzed all available time-stamped material. The review process includes checking time codes for accuracy, synchronizing different camera clocks, and enhancing footage frame by frame to detect faint light movement that a casual observer might miss. After doing that work, the RCMP concluded there was no visual confirmation of a vehicle at the times the witnesses reported hearing one. That conclusion has two immediate implications. First, it reduces the evidentiary weight investigators place on those particular witness reports. In their public statement, police said the presence of a vehicle has not been substantiated as a key element in the investigation. Second, it reframes how detectives will prioritize resources. Video confirmation of a vehicle could have provided a clear geographic anchor, a route to follow, a plate to trace, a person to identify. Without that anchor, investigators must continue to rely on other, often less definitive, sources of information: witness testimony, physical forensics, digital records and leads developed through interviews. It's essential to understand why police treat recorded footage as so valuable. Cameras, when properly time-stamped and preserved, give investigators an immutable record to cross-check human memory. In the hours and days after a disappearance, memory can be unreliable. People under stress recall times imperfectly and can conflate sequence and duration. A verified video frame can pin a vehicle, a person, or an action to a precise minute, and that precision allows investigators to check alibis, triangulate phone pings, and narrow the search area. When the record is absent, those corroborating steps become harder. That is the operational problem the RCMP face here. Neighbor accounts suggest nighttime movement. Cameras do not corroborate it. Investigators must therefore treat the auditory accounts as leads to be weighed, not as proven facts. The public statements from police were careful. RCMP spokeswoman Cindy Bayers emphasized that witnesses reported hearing a vehicle but did not visually confirm one. That distinction matters legally and practically. An audible observation in rural terrain, where sound travels across hollow and ridge differently depending on wind, humidity, and temperature, can be persuasive to a neighbor on alert, but it does not produce the same forensic leverage as a license plate read or a silhouette on camera. For the family and community, the absence of camera confirmation will likely feel unsatisfying. For investigators, it narrows the focus to other means of verification. Still, the RCMP did not dismiss the witness statements as irrelevant. Those comments were included in court materials used earlier this year to obtain warrants for phone records, banking records, and video. In other words, the reports were part of the evidentiary stew investigators used to justify further technical searches. That they remain unsubstantiated by camera does not erase their investigative utility, it simply shifts how police validate them. If any new footage, device logs, or witness testimony emerges that aligns with the auditory reports, the RCMP can and will reassess their significance. For now, however, the cameras, the impartial recorders in the field, show nothing to confirm what neighbors said they heard. The newly released materials included witness accounts by 2 local residents who reported hearing a vehicle in the early hours of May 2nd. Those accounts became part of court filings the RCMP used to secure search powers for phone, banking, and video records, routine investigative steps in a complex missing person file. But the documents are careful not to claim the vehicle as fact. They record what witnesses told officers. That's an important distinction in reporting and in court. Investigators can present alleged observations to judges as grounds for a warrant, but alleged observations remain unproven until corroborated by independent, objective evidence. The first witness account came from Brad Wong, who told police on May 9th that in the hours after midnight on May 2nd he heard a loud vehicle coming and going from the area of the Sullivan home. Wong said he could see vehicle lights above the treetops from his elevated house and that the car left the address 3 or 4 times, returning and remaining in earshot each time. That description gives a clear picture of a vehicle that was not merely passing once, but that lingered in the area in a pattern Wong perceived as unusual. There are a number of practical ways investigators evaluate such auditory reports. They map the witness's vantage point and the topography between the witness's home and the reported area to understand sound propagation, how an engine might carry across a valley, how treetops can reveal light where the driver's silhouette would not be visible, and how echoes from water or boulder faces can create phantom movements. Detectives also correlate the timing of such reports with other, independent potential indicators. Did anyone else in the area report a similar sound? Are there any dashcam or doorbell snapshots within the same minute window? Did any registered vehicle show activity on nearby roads in that time frame? In this case, the RCMP say they checked surveillance from the area and found no visual evidence of a car matching Wong's description. A second local account came from Justin Smith, who said he heard a vehicle in the early hours of May 2nd and later learned from Wong that the vehicle the neighbor heard allegedly belonged to the family's stepfather, Daniel Martel. Smith told police he heard the sound near the railroad tracks and said it turned around there before moving on. These reports, when considered together, sketch out a late-night pattern of movement near the Sullivan property that some community members found alarming. What investigators must now do is reconcile these auditory reports with the absence of visual confirmation on footage and with contemporaneous family statements. In his public comments, Martel dismissed the claims that he drove back and forth that night, insisting his vehicle did not leave the yard. The children's mother declined to comment to media when reached for reaction to the witness reports. At the investigative level, police will therefore weigh the neighbor's recollections alongside objective records, phone metadata, vehicle registration and telematics if available, surveillance from broader regional sources, and any other data that could corroborate or refute the reported engine sounds. There are a few practical reasons why cameras might not show a vehicle even when witnesses think one passed. Cameras have limited fields of view. A vehicle may have remained outside visible angles or passed behind tree cover. Cameras can suffer from downtime, wrong clock settings, or overriding when the storage retention window lapses. Shadows and headlight flares can render an object invisible in a low-resolution clip. That is why investigators speak of corroboration. They do not discard witness reports out of hand, but they require additional traces before elevating them to definitive fact. The RCMP's public stance also reflects the legal caution that must govern high-profile investigations. To describe an unverified vehicle as a key element would be to prioritize a lead without full supporting evidence. That would be a risky move for any agency, because premature emphasis on a single unproven theory can misdirect resources, affect witness statements, and create legal complications if the case advances to court. Instead, police described the reports as unproven content in court filings and continued to pursue multiple lines of inquiry, the kind of procedural breadth that missing person inquiries typically require. Why the nuance matters to families and communities is obvious. For those emotionally invested in the case, a car idling near the trailer late at night is an instinctively meaningful clue. For investigators, it is a lead that must be tested against forensic standards. Both perspectives are understandable. The challenge for the public is to allow police the space to test leads with the technical rigor that makes results usable in court while keeping pressure on investigators to be thorough and transparent where appropriate. What can people in the area do if they have relevant information? The most helpful acts are practical and concrete. Preserve original footage. Do not re-upload compressed versions. Note exact dates and times of any observations, and contact investigators directly rather than broadcasting unverified claims widely. Metadata and original file timestamps are often decisive. Posting clips on social media without the original files can strip crucial forensic details that would allow police to synchronize footage and verify what a camera actually saw at a precise moment. At this stage, the public should remember two things. First, unanswered questions do not equal answers. Neighbors reported hearing a vehicle. Video review did not corroborate a vehicle's presence. Investigators continue to weigh both. Second, the absence of visual confirmation is not the end of the story. Investigators routinely revisit leads as new evidence. A doorbell clip somebody just found, a bank or phone record located through a warrant, or an eyewitness who comes forward with fresh, time-stamped material can shift the balance. For now, police say the vehicle reports are not substantiated as a core element, and no driver has been identified in the surveillance footage. But as with many complex investigations, absence today may yield to corroboration tomorrow, and the RCMP remain positioned to adjust their priorities as verifiable evidence emerges. In closing, two neighbors reported hearing a car in the early hours near the Sullivan home. The RCMP reviewed surveillance footage and found no images confirming vehicular movement at those times, and investigators say the reports remain unproven and are not currently considered a central element of the case. That does not close the door on the possibility that a vehicle was present, but it does frame how detectives will proceed, methodically, technically, and with an eye to corroboration before elevating any single lead to the level of established fact. We will continue to follow verified developments and report them clearly as investigators confirm them.